What's going on, guys? Welcome back to another video. Welcome to your second stimulus check update, stimulus package update, and news report for Sunday, February 14th. Also, happy Valentine's Day. So from reports this morning, we still have a lot of actually a handful of committees still working on the stimulus package. We know many of the committees are done with their work, they finished, and the bills are kind of just sitting waiting to be combined. So at this time, we're still waiting on a few of the House committees. But what we know is that the majority of this bill has been written. That is the good news. But until this is finalized, it can't be voted on. And once it's voted on, then it can be kicked over to the Senate. Then the Senate will decide, do they want to put this into the committees for debate, or are they just going to pass it? And currently, we just don't know. So I want to address a report that came out this morning. And this is a report that is stating that there's going to be a huge $3,500 stimulus boost. Now, I want to be 100% clear with this. This is not a new proposal. This is not a new check that's coming to you. This is neither one of those things. This is actually a report that says the $3,500 stimulus boost is what a new analyst finds is the amount the poorest 20% of Americans are going to receive once this $1.9 trillion stimulus package actually passes. Now, that's going to be big because the study finds that 95% of U.S. households would get a similar dollar amount. Not the $3,500, but the amount to the poorest 20% would be roughly $3,500. I think it's a little bit over that. That's the estimate. Now, they get this money, they get this amount by adding up things like a $1,400 stimulus check, expanded child tax credits for $3,600 for a child between 0 and 5, and $3,000 for a child between 6 and 17. They also include the earned income tax credit, which went from $500 per year up to $1,500 per year. So that's another big one. And when you add up all three of these pieces of legislation, this would provide a roughly 33% boost to the poorest 20% of Americans. And that's big. What we know is one of the Democrats' goals has always been to curb income inequality. Well, it looks like they're going to achieve that in this stimulus package. They seem to be tackling a lot of policies that would narrow this gap. And so for Democrats, this is huge. Republicans, on the other hand, are saying, why should it be up to the wealthier individuals to bring up the poorer individuals? Well, according to some reports, they say that a large gap between the poorer individuals and the wealthier individuals actually makes a struggling economy. So we will see what happens, but if we can narrow that gap, all indications look like it should happen and it would provide a benefit to the economy. Now, one thing that you must keep in mind is that these policies won't be around forever. The $1,400 stimulus check, even though, yes, it's going to help and it's going to impact many people, it's not something that's going to be a continuing theme. We're not going to see more and more stimulus. What we are hearing is that Congress wants to find a way to start to eliminate some of this stimulus. This is more coming from Republicans who say we cannot afford to keep paying for the American people. Not only from a government standpoint, but from the people as well, is that if the American people are so reliant on the U.S. government to give them additional stimulus check, larger unemployment benefits, then this is actually going to do a disservice long term, because some of these people are not going to go out and actively look for a better job. They're just going to go back to the same job that they were at, if that is even available. They might have to go backwards. And so it's actually not going to be much better. So some are saying that yes, it is going to be key when the government decides to let their foot off the gas and see how the economy does. But if they do this too soon, the American people will suffer, and so will the economy. So, what you need to keep in mind, the $1,400 stimulus check is a one-time thing. It's not going to be recurring. It's not going to be monthly. Some are going to push for it, but it's not going to be monthly. The earned income tax credit, This could be a short-term provision. We could see this increase from $500 to $1,500 for multiple years, but the $1,400 stimulus check is most likely going to end here. The stimulus check talks will most likely end with this $1,400 stimulus check. So we will see, but what we do know is the one thing that will continue on is this child tax credit of $3,600 for children between 0 and 5 and $3,000 per year for children between 6 and 17. This is going to be around for a little while. According to the bill, this will be around for at least 2 years. However, Democrats want to make this a permanent fixture. So, what we know is that we will begin receiving these it is a form of stimulus. Sometimes I call it stimulus check. However, it's not really a stimulus check. It's more of a child benefit or credit. So we know we will start receiving these payments sometime in July. But as far as the other 6 months that we kind of missing out on at this point, these will be credited back to us when we file our taxes in 2022 for the year 2021. So we're going to get payments starting in July, but then we will see payments continue on, January 2022, February 2022, and so on. But then once we file our taxes, we're going to see a pretty big, lump sum come back to us for that child tax credit. So that's going to be very good to people that are currently struggling, are lower income individuals and families and people that really need that income. It's going to provide a bigger boost. But what some experts are worried is that hopefully this goes to the parent that actually has their children the most, and then hopefully if they only have their child 50% of the time, it would make sense that you give 50% of that money to the other parent so they can do the exact same thing. They can provide for the child and keep them out of poverty. Because some are saying that if a child is living in poverty with one parent, but then they're living very well with the other, it just doesn't make sense. There needs to be some type of balance. Again, we will see, but that's what experts are currently talking about. Also, another big thing that Democrats are pushing for is to get the $15 federal minimum wage increased. And they're going to do this no matter what. Some say that they are still expecting that this doesn't pass through the Senate parliamentarian, but others say that the $15 federal minimum wage will pass at some point. It might not be in this $1.9 trillion stimulus package, but it will pass eventually. The $15 federal minimum wage increase is actually where all the issues currently stand. What we know is there's 2 Senate Democrats that actually oppose this. One is Joe Manchin. He's a senator out of West Virginia. He's opposed this the longest. He's said this publicly as well, that he doesn't support this. He doesn't support getting rid of the filibuster and other things like that. He also wants a more strict targeting policy when it comes to the $1,400 stimulus checks. So Joe Manchin is one that we should be worried about, because as of right now, he's very unpredictable and he could ultimately just squash this entire package. And then we got somebody like Kyrsten Sinema. She's a senator out of Arizona. She has publicly stated just within the last week that she opposes the $15 federal minimum wage. She does not believe it should be included in a budget reconciliation, and she would not change her mind. So that's where we stand with that. But the goal with the $15 federal minimum wage is to get people out of poverty, to lift them out of poverty. Even Bernie Sanders says, and I quote, "No American working a full-time job should be living in poverty," which is very true. People that live in poverty should be somebody that, or you'd expect, would be somebody that just doesn't want to go to work. That has maybe a job, they work a few hours a week, and that's about it. But some experts say in this economy, in this climate, that with all these jobs, abundance of jobs, nobody should be living in poverty. But again, I don't know what this expert is looking at, because there is not an abundance of jobs. A lot of businesses are not hiring. I, for one, I used to use a bunch of virtual assistants, and I used to hire them all over the country, even all over the world. But since this pandemic has hit, I have actually pulled back a little bit myself. So I don't hire as many people, I don't hire as many employees, and that's just the way I decided to do things. Because as the world turns, as we start to get a little bit smarter as to how we can run our business, and when this whole thing hit, I figured out, okay, I'm doing things wrong. I need to make some changes. I lost a little bit of money to begin with, but I made these changes, and then the businesses started to flourish. And I think that's what many businesses are going to do. So they're going to hire on less employees, which means they should be able to make more money, which hopefully they'll be able to hire more employees and pay them a better wage, which again means everybody is going to be lifted out of poverty. It doesn't require a federal minimum wage increase, but it does require a boss, manager, or owner that is able and willing to provide a bigger income. So again, we will see what happens there, but right now the $15 federal minimum wage is what is currently being seen as the sticking point. This is what could be the make or break policy within this stimulus package. Here's the good news. The good news is that the American Rescue Plan has been approved. It has been approved by the House Ways and Means Committee. Now, don't go out there and start watching all these videos thinking, oh, yes, it's been approved. We're going to get the stimulus check tomorrow. That's not what has been approved. The House Ways and Means Committee, yes, yesterday they did approve moving forward the $940 billion in stimulus and relief. But this just includes the $1,400 stimulus checks and the expanded child tax credit. So this is still missing the rest of the bill, about $1 trillion of the bill. So this cannot go and be voted on, or Nancy Pelosi is not going to vote on this bill until the rest of the bill is included. She's not going to vote on this and not pass vaccine funding and school funding and state and local government funding. She's not going to do that. She's going to wait for everything's ready. They're going to combine it. Then they will vote on that. Well, I'm going to get to when they're going to vote on the timeline in just a second. But this, again, they have to pass this, and they're waiting on the rest of the bill to finish. This is exactly what we are waiting on right now, is there's multiple committees that are still meeting, still debating, still trying to finalize their portion of the bill. And until every single portion is finalized, they cannot combine them. And that's where we lead into more and more delays. But let's get into the possible timelines of this bill, because this is essential. This is what a lot of people have been asking for. Now, the House Majority Leader Steny Hoyer, he gives us a great look at what the House is expecting through his own calendar. The House won't even vote on this bill until hopefully February 23rd. And I say hopefully because they are not done. They haven't combined the bills yet. We still have about a week, and so we will see where they go. But as of right now, it's on the calendar for the week of February 23rd through February 26th. Both the House and Senate will be away all of next week. However, and they'll be away for recess. However, the House is still in their committee meetings. So you got to understand, until they finish up this $1.9 trillion stimulus package, they will continue to work. Now, even though we could get votes within the House on February 23rd, they are giving themselves all 4 days of that week, so it could be finished sometime on February 26th. Until it passes through the House, it will not be kicked over to the Senate, and the Senate won't start their process. And at this point, we can stop focusing on the House for a second, because it's all going to matter what happens in the Senate. What we know is that we need to look at the Senate to see what they are doing. The Senate is where things could get fairly tricky, and it all comes down to the $15 minimum wage provision, like I've stated before. Chuck Schumer, he will be able to ask the Democrats, the Senate Democrats, do you oppose this, or are you good to go? If all 50 say yes, we agree, this is good, we're happy with it, let's get it done, let's push it through, then Chuck Schumer will take the bill to the floor for a quick up and down vote and get it passed. It will most likely be voted on 50 to 50, 50 yeses, 50 noes, and Vice President Harris will come in and be the tiebreaker. If this happens, we could see stimulus passed anytime between March 1st and March 12th. That is the good news. Okay? Now, I said the other day we could see it happen by the end of February, and it could happen. But all indications at this point say no, it's going to happen sometime in the first couple weeks of March. Now, the problem is, if one Senate Democrat opposes this, says no, then the debate for the bill will continue, and the debate will go into the committee meetings. If this happens, then the bill will get debated, and senators can toss in any amendments that they want, and this would ultimately delay stimulus talks. Some are expecting that Bernie Sanders will include an amendment for $600 per week for unemployment benefits, and he might consider putting in a $2,000 stimulus check amendment. However, that is one that's currently in question. So, if this happens, What you need to keep in mind is that this could happen during the Senate reconciliation markup process. And if this happens, any changes are made, the bill must go back to the House. It must be debated on within the committees, and then it can be voted on again. So if everything falls apart, like some experts are currently predicting, then we might not see a stimulus package pass the Senate or House until sometime through March 15th through the 26th. But what you need to keep in mind is that that cliff for unemployment is March 14th. So if it goes anytime past that, we could potentially see missed weeks of unemployment benefits. And one other thing that you need to keep in mind is that how the bill is written right now does not include any retroactive unemployment pay. So if this gets passed, let's say if they're working on it and then it finally gets passed on March, let's say 18th, they would have to actually go back, readjust the bill in that sense to provide a retroactive week of unemployment or retroactive 3-4 days. So again, it could potentially mean more delays. Again, most experts predict that we are going to see this stimulus package pass, but we might not get a stimulus check until the first week of April. And again, that's where there's going to be more delays as well, because the IRS is currently working on the income tax returns for 2020. So we'll see what happens. But like I was saying, it all comes down to what's going to happen in the Senate. We know it's going to pass through the House. No problem. It's going to get done. The Senate is where the real issues are going to lie because it's split 50-50. So if we see Kyrsten Sinema or Joe Manchin opposed to this bill in any way, this could delay stimulus talks. So that's what we know right now. But as we get more information on what's currently happening and more updates as to what we could see, I promise I will bring you all those updates as well. Just want to thank you guys for watching. Hopefully you have a wonderful rest of your weekend. Have a great Valentine's Day, and I'll see you guys on the next one.